Okay, thank you very much. Morning. So nearly lunchtime, so I'm going to talk about blockchain, which is not Bitcoin, okay? So normally I say if you don't want to talk about Bitcoin, leave, but obviously the other speakers are not going to be happy with that. So I do believe that blockchain and other technology can revolutionize omnichannel retail. I'm from a retail first of all, anything that I'm going to say, you're not allowed to hold us to or anything about it. So I have to put that on. I'm from a retail background, born into a retail family. So I'm more your side. I'm very new to Oracle. I've been there about a year or so. But I do believe in technology and how it can transform. And it was interesting with Mike Coop this morning and quite a few of the other speakers that technology is probably the biggest change that we need to start to adapt and work on. So where do I see blockchain? How do I see this working together? Really, I look at it as sort of where do we come from in terms of the internet and where we are today? And it's search, social, e-commerce products. All of these brands you know, I know some of the brands are probably in the room as well. Well, I think that this is happening. I think there's a lack of trust, a lack of understanding, a lack of respect for some of these companies. Not all, but the big companies have got bad press and a lot of bad sort of feedback, especially the blue one that's crossed out, you know, from customers. People don't trust them as much as they did. People do shop local and people want to know more information about products and retail. So where are we going to? So I'm talking about the internet of value. So this is all new. Blockchain is so new, you know, we can make up what we're talking about in essence, but the technology is there and we can start to use it, and that's what I want to tell you about. Blockchain, in essence, in a few words, so I'm not techie, so I'm not from the techie part of our business. The next slide is, though, which is great. Trust, transparency, security, certainty, quality, reduce costs. Are those what you want as retailers? Yeah, good. So, what could this look like? I always put this slide up to say, look, this is what it could do. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen next year, but this is what it could look like. Google could disappear. Heaven forbid, I can't imagine that. But if we use blockchain, we can have a verified set of ledgers, set of information, in essence, Wikipedia, but verified by us, the people. Facebook, obviously a lot of bad press, but that could disappear. And there is actually a social media network that's built on blockchain that's really popular, really hard and really difficult to use. It's a nightmare. But it's owned by the people who use it. There's no data to sell. All the data is yours. Your photo is yours, etc. Amazon. Imagine a world without Amazon. I'm sure a lot of you would be happy. I'm sure the people who work for Amazon wouldn't be. But imagine if you just had a trusted, secure network of information of products. So you don't need to trust Amazon. You can trust the network and trust what we're putting together. And then the one I like the best is LinkedIn. You know, how does anybody know that I worked at M&S or Sainsbury's or Dixon's or did anything I said? Well, it says on my LinkedIn, but actually nobody really knows that, apart from, I know quite a few people who worked in those companies, and I work with them. So a real trusted verification. Oh. There we go. Just in terms of where blockchain is, if you don't think it's real and you think it's a fad, just read some of the stats. You know, last year, nearly a billion was spent on it. This year already, there's around about 2 billion already spent on blockchain technology. And it's going to go to around 10 billion, if not more, in the next 2 or 3 years. There is a lot of money in this. The number of people working it and all these sorts of things. So if people think it's a fad, you're going to miss out. So it's not the answer to everything, but it's very important. What is it? This is what most of our clients and most people I see talking about. People don't really understand it. People think, is it AI? Is it this? Is it that? That's a lot of the conversations that we hear, which is quite, you know, tongue-in-cheek, but the reality is the technology is new, so it is about exploring it. And here we go. I said there'd be a techie slide. I'm not allowed to be at Oracle and not have techie slides. So it's a system for maintaining ledgers. Ledger is a list of information, anything to do with transactions, data. It doesn't have to be about money. It can be about anything else. Importantly, it allows multiple parties, people, companies, entities that don't fully trust each other. Now, I won't ask you, but if any retailers in this room, if I ask you, do you trust everybody in your supply chain, nobody would put their hand up. because the reality is they're so big and so complex. Okay, one lady might. There you are. There you are. So, but in general, in the scale of it, you don't trust everybody in your supply chain, just the way the world works. Do you need to reduce third-party intermediaries? There's always lots of people in between, transaction costing especially, but on everything else we do, insurers and the rest of it. And imagine having near real-time information across your entire global business. Now, we try and do that with current technology, but this can make that happen that bit better. So we talk about enterprise blockchain, which is why this is nothing to do with Bitcoin or any of the cryptocurrencies that you hear about. What is a blockchain for enterprise? It's a private shared database, is the best way to look at it. And you share it with other people, other companies in your network. You verify the data together, so you agree how the data appears on the database, how it's used, who does what with it, etc. You control the capacity of it. Lots of people say Bitcoin costs millions and millions in terms of electricity and all the mining that happens. You wouldn't do that as an enterprise. You wouldn't do that as a real business. So you control it. The designated miners, so people talk about Bitcoin mining. You don't have that because it's built into the system as just a set of rules that you agree as the network. No cryptocurrency, so it's none of that other side of it. And collective administration is you as the community agree how to administer it and how to work together. So really, it's blockchain as a tool, as a technology, not an ideology of decentralized world where everybody can do everything. That may or may not happen, but that's not enterprise. That's not what we're looking at for business. I'll let you look at this after, but blockchain is definitely not a solution for everything, which is why I always share this slide. So people say, can you blockchain this? Can you blockchain that? Actually, normal databases, normal cloud services, normal CRM, is just as good. This is just the next level. And this is all about, is there a big complex organization, a big complex supply chain, a big complex set of transactions? It's worth looking at blockchain. Why would you do it? I do need to reword these because I keep realizing that it's gone far too tech. A year ago, I wouldn't have written things like this, but I'm being oracleized, which is quite scary. Increase the business velocity. So basically, you can do lots more transactions, but more importantly, there's new business models that come from this. Totally different ways of doing things. I won't go into the details now, but in essence, you change your business processes with blockchain, and you can do things very differently. Imagine automating all these cross-party, cross-entity transactions where you don't need to be sat there reconciling and having shared services with thousands of people trying to add figures, trying to send POs, trying to make sure stock's where it is. You reduce the cost and risk of intermediaries, so you're doing it more together as yourself, but if you're not doing it together, you see everything else you need to. You've got transparency. Fraud and regulation is getting a lot harder, a lot tougher. With blockchain, you will have a much better record of information, which in essence governments and regulators can look at if you choose to. I'm not sure you'd want to, but they want to. Improves the data, so improves the quality of data because you check the data before you put it onto the database rather than after. And it's all about audit, trust, etc. So I truly believe that you can compete with and maybe even beat Amazon with using blockchain technology and other technologies as well, because it gives you open supply chain information, open transaction data. So let me show you the examples that we talk about, and these are the use cases that we talk about. Financial transactions, I won't talk a lot about that because that's more different industries, but in essence, you can look at all the different transactions you do, and they could be put on the blockchain and they'd be faster and cheaper. Cryptocurrency is obviously taking payments. Who likes paying MasterCard and the payment providers 0.5 to 1 to 2%? And in a retail context, especially if you think supermarkets, 0.5 or 1% is a lot of money to the bottom line. So cryptocurrencies for payments, I think, are really important and useful. Are they there now? Not really, unless you assume Bitcoin's going to take over, which it may or may not. Inventory management. Imagine being able to see your whole inventory across the whole of your 10 DCs, your 20 distribution centers, your collect at store hubs, the back of stores. Imagine seeing all your data and all the products everywhere, and it's verified and it's correct, and you know, within reason, it will never be perfect, but it's better than what we have now. Supply chain transparency. So imagine looking through all the back of the, so imagine once, from before inventory, from back through to the raw material suppliers right the way through, there's 10 of these shirts on the way, and I can see them, and there's X number of buttons and X number of cotton gone into it, etc. And you can see that all the way through. Shipping is a classic. So in shipping, when the big containers arrive, there's around about 20 to 30 different bits of paper, like physical paper. I haven't got any paper here, here you are. Real paper actually gets moved around. That's like 2018. It's amazing that these big ships and the whole of everything that goes with them is still paper-based. And there's a lot of work around that. Shipping is one of the biggest. Sourcing, imagine looking at all your different suppliers, working out which is the best cost, the best quality, working out the best parts of the world you want to source your stock from. Identity management, if you think about, selling alcohol or identifying exactly what part of, which product, etc. You can, in essence, identify anything you want within reason, but you could identify every single part, every person, every entity. Certification, authentication, so that could be things like, did I get a degree? Did I really do that course, etc.? And you could scan a code and it says, yes, Antony did study that, he did get that qualification, etc. Or more importantly, luxury products. Is it a real Armani shirt? Is it a real, Rolex watch, etc.? Traceability, a massive one. If you ever want to look at a use case, just type in Mango Walmart into YouTube. A great supply chain use case that they've done. Mangoes go into millions of products, and you wouldn't think it, but they've managed to get tracing a mango back to the farm it was grown to something like 4 hours from 2 weeks. Now imagine if there's a food safety issue, that is really, really important. Provenance, how do I know the product is where, is the one that I want, and how's it been made, so fair trade and things like that. Provenance, you can in essence track each item. And we're putting together a video at the moment which I'd be able to scan the shirt and it'd tell you the cotton plant, where it grew, which lorry it went into, where the buttons were made, etc. And you can start to get to that. Counterfeit products, obviously the opposite to the luxury side of it, so it will help identify where the dodgy products are. Loyalty, we talked about Avios, things like that, so loyalty points and loyalty programs. If you do those on a blockchain, you can actually work together because you trust each other. So loyalty is a big issue for retailers, loyalty cards. A lot of customers have them but don't use them, they leave money on them, etc. On blockchain, you can share information and swap from a hotel to money off to free products, etc. a lot easier. Gift cards, warranty and refunds, all the same sort of thing. Basically, the transaction is recorded on a blockchain where anybody can see anything. So you can, in essence, pass on your warranty when you sell your product. You can get your refund information quicker and easier and more accurate. And just to finish with some real cases that we're actually working on or have worked on at Oracle. With IntelliPost, so you can now track and look at the e-commerce products, a bit like DPD. But DPD has got some issues around it. Obviously, nothing's perfect, but this takes the DPD type model where you can track where the items are going and gives all information to everyone. So you know every second where it is and what's happening. This is a great one. It's an olive oil family in Italy, and they want to be able to say this olive oil is real from our olive groves in, I think it's Tuscany or wherever it is. And they can track that through. So when you buy that bottle and you see it in the supermarket, you can scan it and it'll show you the olive trees and what happened and which date and everything like that, which is really important if you want the real, authentic product. Indian oil, so this was reducing the counterfeit transactions. Excuse me. So what they've done with bank guarantees and with financial information, it goes onto a shared blockchain. And therefore, the people know that other people have done a transaction. They don't know the value of it. They don't know how much people are guaranteeing. But they know that a transaction happens, so it's more secure, and it's less likely to be fraudulent. There's a loyalty one. So, at DP World, probably one of the biggest shipping companies in the world. They're working on AI, Internet of Things, and blockchain together. So imagine if you put things like an Internet of Things device on every product and track it through a blockchain, you can automate and everything can be seen across the whole supply chain. This is a massive project. You know, this is global shipping, global supply chain, but they're starting it now, and Maersk do some good work as well. Lots more examples, but I've got minus now. So I do believe that omnichannels can win, and that's why I'm here talking about it. If you want trusted, transparent, efficient systems and processes, that's what you need to compete in the new world for all of the reasons that other speakers have talked about this morning and will do this afternoon. And really, it's about getting online now, starting to work with, you know, blockchain ideas, with Internet of Things, with AI, because I do truly believe that omnichannel with stores has a differential, a big differential over just e-commerce. And also, e-commerce businesses can benefit massively from this. Thank you.